This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. The holidays mean more travel, more shopping, more time online, and more personal info in places that could expose you to identity theft. That's why LifeLock monitors millions of data points every second. If your identity is stolen, their US-based restoration specialist will fix it, guaranteed or your money back. Get more holiday fun and less holiday worry with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
The wrongs we must right. The fights we must win. The future we must secure together for our nation. This is what's in front of us. This determines what's next for all of us. We are Marines. We were made for this.
Well, on the line with his Jack Terrier, Anthony Weiner.
I got to listen to this one.
I got to tell you, he's got a Jack Terrier now that he adopted, and it's a rat killer. John, it's a rat. The New York Times had a story.
Yes.
About a Jack Terrier that a woman has in Prospect Park, Park Slope, all those neighborhoods, that goes around snatching up the rats and killing them instantly. And that's the kind of dog that Anthony Weiner has right now.
He's a killer.
Am I right or wrong, Anthony?
Well, you're close. It's a pit terrier, but the same hunting instinct. My neighborhood of the East Village has about 9 fewer rats than it did before Billy came on the scene.
It is. It definitely works. And your dog came up to me. I mean, I was in love with your dog. I was going to adopt it from you.
Yeah, I mean, I've called you a rat from time to time, but apparently Billy disagrees. She seems to love you.
Yeah. Now, the other day, it was it's almost like I had a flashback. You in the well of the house arguing with Peter King, one of the classic arguments that have ever taken place. There was an argument on the 5 o'clock roundtable discussion between the same Congressman Peter King and John Fund about that Republican from Texas, a woman who was staying in a long-term residential facility, and the argument was term limits. Peter King was saying no to term limits. John Fund would say, well, this is a perfect example why you need term limits.
Yeah, I mean, the woman's name is Kay Granger. She was not just any member of Congress. She was the chair of the Appropriations Committee. She announced that she's going to step down and retire, which happens. You know, she's not a young woman. She's 81 years old. What happened was, for months and months, she wasn't showing up to vote. She basically disappeared. No one even seemed to notice. The next thing we know, a local reporter in her district in Texas finds her in a memory age home, like she's basically got dementia. Listen, here's the thing that makes me basically anti-term limits. First of all, if I told you that the average House member only served for about 8.5 years, that's not super long. The senator right now, the average tenure is 11 years, not super long. But just like with Joe Biden and Kay Granger, what we learn is that when you take out the leader, you still have the staff who basically runs things. And if you make term limits, you're just going to make stronger staffers. They're going to be
but you end up what happened in the city council when Peter Vallone and Judge Weinberg took out the term limits. What happened? You end up with the staffers being the bosses. And the staffers are not as smart.
I think that's right. And also, we don't have the same rules for them that we have for members. There's no transparency. If some lobbyist wants to wine and dine and pocket line a staffer, as Curtis might say, it's really hard for us to know about if an elected official. I don't think term limits is the magic bullet, but I got to tell you this. We are living longer and longer lives. We're having more and more money in politics, so older people are getting into politics more and more.
Yeah, it's not the age, Anthony. Anthony, it's not the age. Look at Joe Biden, and look at Alphonse D'Amato, 87 years old, sharp as a tack.
Right. Look at you at 65. What are you, 65, 66 right now? You're still doing great.
Wait. Thanks for the compliment.
I know where my...
Let me ask you a question, Anthony. Anthony, what about what was suggested by Haley, cognizant tests every few years to make sure that you have control of your mental faculties? Because some of these folks don't.
They certified Joe Biden.
Even federal judges.
They certified Joe Biden.
I have a better idea. If we look at how the Granger case turned out, it was a local reporter that found it. Right now, local media is dead. We on WABC are the only live and local doing in-depth politics in all of New York City right now, right? If there were more local reporters and local stations doing their job, the voters could find it out. I mean, that's the thing. Coming up with some magic elixir, there is no substitute for a vigorous press. If we had a congressman in the area that wasn't showing up for work, you don't think Noam Layton would find out about it? You don't think that James Flippin or Liz would find out about it? That's why you need live and local news like we do here.
So who is holding it back on the national news? Tell me. You know, I mean, you're a smart guy, Anthony. You know that. Who is holding it back? Are they intentionally holding it back and not telling the truth?
No, I just think that the media is not what it used to be. They used to have people that right down the middle report the news. Everyone wants to do opinion. Everyone wants to look, here's what we do, and you know this, John, at the radio here. We have opinion around the clock, but we take a break at the top of each hour and do straight news. Right now, there's not enough straight news going on, and right now the media is held in lower esteem than politicians are. And I don't know how you restore that, but I don't think right now with the internet making up stuff.
Repeat that again. You mean the media is considered to be at a lower level than used car salesmen and members of Congress?
I hate to say it, but it's true. I'm the only person in life that went from the next to lowest level rated to the lowest rated when John hired me.
Oh, wow. That is incredible.
But look, there's no easy answer. Look, democracy thrives when there's sunlight, when more people can see. To be honest with you, I mean, I think that probably someone in leadership in the Republican Party probably should have said, look, Kay, I know you stepped down. You're not well enough to serve. You should resign so we can fill your seat with someone right away.
Did somebody deceive us? The Wall Street Journal article about the 50 staffers at the White House. Did somebody deceive us on President Biden's health?
Let me ask you this, John. When did you realize, John, that Biden was too old to serve a second term?
About a year ago.
I was even more than that. I didn't even think. I mean, I thought when I saw him on stage in 2020, he sounded like he was too old to do the job. I mean, here's the thing. The whole idea that the White House kept a secret, if you look at poll after poll, the American people knew he was too old. It wasn't like this was some mystery. Every time he opened his mouth, it was pretty clear the guy was not ready to go for another round.
So Anthony, you're a Democrat and you're a diehard Democrat. But I used to be a Democrat years ago, right? And who was pushing the buttons at the White House? It wasn't Joe Biden. Who was pushing the buttons at the White House when they were letting in drug dealers, they were letting in murderers, they were letting in convicts? I mean, somebody had to be pushing the button because Mayorkas, listen, we had the head of the border union on the other day, me and Rita. And he says Mayorkas' orders were doing that. And if you take Mayorkas and ask him, he'll tell you he's getting orders from the White House. Now, who is pressing the buttons?
John, the first bill that Joe Biden sent up to Capitol Hill was an immigration reform bill that probably will be what winds up passing in the House next year. Okay, his problem was not that he had we have to fix our laws. The asylum laws were the laws for 40 years in this country. They need to be fixed.
But we weren't letting in drug dealers. We weren't letting in murderers. We weren't letting in all these people. Somebody had to give the order to Mayorkas, and Mayorkas was giving the order to the Border Control.
We had more people arrested at the border in this administration than any other in history. There's a flood of people coming at us. Of the people that are in prison right now.
Tell that to the people in New York who are suffering with these murderers.
Of the people that are in prison right now that are the first that are going to be deported, 3/4 of them were not were people that came in under Trump. That didn't come in recently. Look, I get it. Immigration's a huge problem. It needs to get fixed. Let's see if we can fix it now. But I agree with you. The asylum laws, when someone comes in like this Guatemalan guy came in under the asylum laws, that's legal to do that.
All right, New York State. Why is Carl Hasty doing what he's doing and allowing this bail law where we have more criminals on the street hurting our citizens?
I'll tell you. I'm thinking of running for city council.
I think you should go run against Carl Hasty.
Well, hold on a second. One of my opponents just sent out her first mailer of all the things she plans to do. The word police isn't mentioned a single time. Okay? Law enforcement is not mentioned a single time. Homeless off the streets is not mentioned a single time. We have a problem in our party. We have to realize we Democrats run the Senate, run the governor, we run the assembly, we run the Senate, we run the mayor's office, and we run the city council. These are our problems, and we have to show we can solve them.
We need common sense in the Democratic Party. Who's going to bring it back?
I think that's right. I think I know just the guy.
Are you what are you going to run for? You going to run for mayor? One more time.
I am. I have not announced anything, but as you know, John, I'm exploring running for city council here in Lower Manhattan.
Wow, you almost got him to say he was going to run for mayor a third time, John.
The thing was, he would have won last time.
Yes.
If you didn't screw up at the end, Anthony, you would have won.
Let me.
Well, hey, John, you and I. I'm going to tell you something. Have you ever seen the city council worse than it is today?
Never. I mean, it's unbelievable how bad.
And if good people with experience and with common sense don't start running for the city council, it's going to get worse.
But let me ask you this, Anthony. I run into Democrats all the time. Most of them in the city are moderate. Why is it the socialists and liberals and progressives have basically dominated the party when most of the members are actually moderate Democrats?
Well, I think the reason this is something I've been giving a lot of thought to as I've been looking at running this race. I think the fact of the matter is that we had 500,000 Democrats not even show up to vote in New York City in a presidential election. OK, they didn't even show up. And I think it's because there's a disconnect that you just described. That, listen, progressive people don't like crime. Progressive people don't like illegal pot shops. Progressive people don't like scaffolding over their head every 2 minutes. Progressive people don't like the fact that we can't get these homeless people off the street that we know who they are. They are basically our neighbors, and no one seems to be able to help them or help ourselves. And now we're closing hospitals in our neighborhood. Look, I think the problem is Democrats have stopped being the problem-solving party. We're the party that complains, about the other guy. Well, listen, if we can't show that we have the solutions to these problems, we don't deserve to win. And I think a lot of voters are sitting on their hands for that very reason.
Well, I think also, Anthony, as you know, the younger voters tend to register as an independent. They don't necessarily have a party affiliation. Increasingly, I've noticed in the election cycles, they're breaking more and more towards the Republicans sometimes. It used to be that they were almost Democrats who sometimes would vote Republican. Now it seems increasingly they're voting Republican.
Yeah, I'm not – definitely we had a thing going on with younger voters in the presidential race. But here in New York City, I think what's happening is that when it happens that a moderate does challenge one of these socialist types, they usually win. And I'm considering running here because I'm trying to show that good people should stand up and run, that we are not. Listen, whenever we choose mayoral candidates, we choose the more moderate. Adams ran as the moderate. Anthony Weiner, I was running as the moderate. Mike Bloomberg only got elected because he was basically a Democrat in everything but name. So I think that's a sign. And who came in second last time? Kathy Garcia, who was seen as a moderate. I think the electorate is not the problem. It's the people that are standing for election that are the problem.
Or just that the socialists out-hustle, out-organize, and get their vote in a primary, and the moderate Democrats, they don't have the machine anymore. They don't have the machine.
I think that's probably right. And then you've got the other problems. We talked about term limits. Term limits creates a lot of churn. You've got a campaign finance system that is insanely generous. 8-to-1 match for local donations is too. And listen, if I run, I'm going to accept the money, but I think it's way too much money.
No, I would concur. And it's created so many problems. Look, Eric Adams is in a mess because of it. An absolute mess because of it. But anyway, Anthony Weiner, you can hear Anthony. He's on from 3 to 4. It's Anthony in the middle. He goes solo, and then he's in with James Flippin, left versus right, 4 to 5 on Saturdays. If you've missed any of the left versus right, he goes back. I started it. Then John got involved. Then it was the Stone Zone with Roger Stone. Then it was me again. Now it's James Flippin, but it's always been Anthony Weiner on the left. Just go to WABCRadio.com, and you can listen to all the left versus right. Oh, and I forgot Dominic Carter. In fact, John had to pull him because he thought he was going to have a heart attack with you. I mean, you guys were like flailing at one another.
I mean, they were going to kill each other.
Exactly.
We, as it turned out, we didn't have an emergency room close enough to the studio.
All right. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, continue on to the beginning of the new year.
Anthony, you going to be there when we light the menorah?
You bet, except don't make me go up there. I'm afraid of heights.
That's Eddie Rendell said the same thing.
Oh, my God, John, you're going up in the bucket on Monday.
We'll see.
In that wind zone that's across the street from the plaza now because they're doing reconstruction. Reconsider that, John.
Oh, my God.
We need you here, John. We need you right here on your place to be, WABC.